This week on Vegan Freak Radio, we tell Nina Plank to take a long walk off a short pier. We talk about an ode to pork, and we wonder about Mitt Romney and his crazy, crazy schemes with dogs. All this and more on Podcast 75 for July 1st, 2007.
Coming to you from high atop their elite fortress of moral superiority, here are your protein-deficient hosts, Bob and Jenna.
Hello, everyone. It's
How
Jenna.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Bob.
And we're back.
For another week of Vegan Freak Radio.
Yes. I don't know. I'm already lost words. That's not a good sign.
Not a good sign at all. So we got a couple things to talk about this week on the show. We're going to talk about, there's more of this stuff about Nina Plank. If you haven't been paying attention to the story, Nina Plank wrote the story about how one could not have a healthy vegan pregnancy and should not raise children vegan, all that stuff. And it's been back and forth, and it's upset the vegan community tremendously. And frankly, I'm a little tired of the story, but we're going to talk about it because the New York Times did still more. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Yeah. But I think it's important to, show why she's so dangerous, too.
Well, yeah, we're going to talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah. And we've got, an annoying ex-vegan to talk about.
There are plenty of them around. No shortage of annoying ex-vegans. No shortage of annoying people in the world.
Yes.
Do you think?
No shortage.
I read somewhere that the average IQ in the United States, median IQ in the United States is 100.
That seems really low.
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
Do you think it seems low?
No, maybe not.
I mean, think about most of the people you know.
Yeah, I guess so.
How else could we explain George Bush being elected to office?
It's a good point.
Yep. Okay, what else?
And we asked the question of, would you vote for someone who puts their dog on top of their car?
Cool. And then we're going to deal with some voicemails, and we're going to call it quits. So we got a kind of a quick show for you in store today.
Yeah.
But before we begin...
Right. We were sent in the mail a cookbook called The Damn Tasty Vegan Baking Guide, Savory Breads, Tempting Sweets, and Everything in Between by Chris Holacek. And I think we've talked about Chris on the show, or she's sent in an email or voicemail or something like that.
Way back.
Way back when. Anyway, she's done this cookbook, and from what I understand, Chris's baking goods are quite delectable. So, if you are interested in learning more about vegan baking, because that in the intro to the book she talks about, what are the various parts of baking and what do they do, what's the leavening, and how do you bake vegan, and then she has some amazing looking recipes, which we can't properly test because, as anyone who's listened to show number 66 knows, we don't bake anymore for various reasons.
Very little, very, very, very rarely.
Very rarely. So, as much as I would love to test out these recipes, we can't. But if you would like to go check them out, you can go to the website for the book,
DamnTastyVegan.com.
DamnTastyVegan.com, a delicious part of SquirrelsVeganKitchen.com. So, apparently, they have a couple websites dedicated to the book, and so if you're interested in that, I would highly recommend that you go check that out.
Absolutely.
So thanks, Chris, for sending us that. It looks amazing. There's a lot of good cookie recipes and good stuff.
Cool.
So.
Another thing I want to do by way of announcement is I want to remind people that we have a chat room online and encourage people to come to it. So it's really simple to get to. I think I'll put up directions in the show notes. How about that? But you should come to the chat room and say hi.
Yeah.
There are usually some people there hanging out. We just talk about random vegan stuff. It's a good way to kill some time if you need to kill some time.
That's true.
So
really good for procrastination.
If you know how to use IRC, the server is vegan.serenia, SERENIA.net, and the room is pound vegan. Hash number shift 3.
Pound sign.
Pound sign. Yes. Vegan. VEGAN. VAYG. No, VEGAN. So are you one of
Vegan.
the vegans? Okay, moving on. I would be honest with you. I wish Nina Plank would take a long walk off a short pier. I'm really tired of her. I think, in general, the movement, all of us who are talking about this, we've given her way too much attention, and we've given her, this spotlight that I don't think she deserves.
No, but she's been in the New York Times, which is extremely visible. It's one of the major newspapers in this country.
I've been in the New York Times, so what?
This is true.
Actually, I was in the New York Times, when was that?
Last week?
Yeah.
Yeah, an article about freeganism.
Yeah, I was quoted about freeganism, which is ironic. But anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So I think, I think there are so many responses to this article.
Yeah, like fuck you.
No, I mean, vegans turned out in amazing numbers.
Yeah.
Non-vegans too were pissed off by the article.
That's because the movement's really, everybody's really good at writing letters. Like,
Well, yeah, but it did some good because it got the New York Times, one of the editors, to respond.
true. Good point. I mean, I understand that we need to respond to these things in public, but on the other hand, everybody seems surprised by this, but I'm not. Like,
I'm not surprised by it at all. I'm just really pissed off.
But a lot of people seem surprised by it. I don't find it surprising, and I think it's wrong, but it's the kind of misinformation that I think is out there in many different places.
True.
So
Very true. But Nina had a funny response on her own website, which I think you have there.
I have.
You have.
Oh yeah, I do, don't I? Let's talk about Nina's response.
Yeah, first.
It's it goes on.
Yeah, we're not going to read the whole thing because we don't want to give her that much time.
Blah,
but there's some
blah,
funny
blah.
things in it, like more misinformation. What a surprise!
Blah blah blah. I mean, she rightfully points out that some vegans are really stupid. Because some vegans are really stupid. No offense, vegans, but I mean, she says one vegan mother was already informed about over-reliance on soy for protein. Apparently, she knew the risks of soy, including growth inhibition, excess phytoestrogens, and thyroid trouble, and limited herself to one serving per day. No, that's not the one I wanted to pick on. Sorry. She talks about how some vegans talked about how they didn't eat only plants or something. Shit, I just totally blew this. Oh, one vegan assured me that while babies could not live on plants alone, vegans do eat other foods such as peanuts and tofu. Now, that's really dumb.
Yeah.
That doesn't help us make the case.
No, it does not.
It's like
I think they were probably trying to make a point about protein.
yeah,
But
I think they're probably trying to make a point about the fact. I mean, tofu is a plant product, but it doesn't grow out of the ground.
Right.
Right. I mean,
Right,
there is
right.
not a tofu tree somewhere where you run into the forest and pick it. And that's probably what the original person meant.
Yeah.
But Nina Plank, she says, she goes on in this editorial, her response, it's not an editorial, it's a response to all this stuff. And she says, today I'd like to quote Joanne Groman, a dairy farmer and expert on cow nutrition, human and human infancy. In her book, coincidentally titled Real Food, I found the book well after mine was conceived, entitled, yeah, right, liar. And now sadly out of print. Oh, sadly. She makes the case that a strict vegan diet is an evolutionary dead end. That is a strong statement. She means that human nutrition has some absolute requirements to sustain life and reproduce. I came to agree. I believe a vegan diet is passable, but far from ideal for a healthy adult who is well-nourished in utero and nursed by a well-nourished mother, but inadequate for reproduction. And reproduction, in my view, is a single consideration in question if one speaks of the long term. Individual fertility or longevity, I heard from vegan parents, of course, about vegans who lived to 80 and 90 years, is not the question here. The health of the entire population is of greater interest to the scientific mind. Yeah, like she knows what the fuck the scientific mind is.
I know. And she says, I came to believe all of this. Why? Because you're a nutritionist? It's like...
Well, yeah, exactly. She's come to believe these things, but what none of us realize, or what none of us are really pointing out, is that she does not know what the fuck she's doing. Like, she is not what is she an expert in?
Nothing.
Exactly. She does. Where is her? Where are her long-term clinical studies? Where are any of the evidence that she would use to understand this? It's just these piecemeal things that she pulls together. She's stupid. A vegan diet is not natural to our species, nor, in my view, is an all-plant diet superior to an omnivorous diet of traditional foods. The China study, a favor to vegans and vegetarians, fails to compare a plant-based diet of real foods with an omnivorous diet of real foods. That is the comparison we need. All too often, studies condemning omnivores look at people eating industrial foods.
That's not true.
I don't think that's true either.
From the China study, it's called the China study because he compares different populations in China.
Yeah, but I think her point is that for her, the evil is eating like McDonald's, right? Or eating high fructose, fuck you corn syrup and all that stuff.
Well, yeah, which is bad, obviously.
Obviously. So,
yeah.
But she's saying that, let's see.
No, but I think the China study does make the comparison that she's looking for. And
Oh,
that
you're absolutely right.
It looks at various villages and places in China and their
That's right.
diet and then the effects that it has on their health. And the healthiest were the people who eat no meat.
That's right.
Or,
And the meat
or
that
almost
they-
no, or like meat as a garnish, once in a very, very great while. The populations, then he compares it to other populations that eat more meat throughout their diet and what she would call whole foods.
I think you're right. You're absolutely right.
Not
I'm
in
wrong.
an industrial diet.
You're right.
So I'm at least it's been a while since I read it, but I'm pretty sure that's what he does.
You're right. I'm wrong.
Sure.
So
Like once again, she's talking out her ass.
yeah, well. Anyway, she says, today the dangerous misinformation is not about plant foods. It is the story, now more than 30 years old, that butter and other traditional foods cause heart disease. They don't. They don't.
Oh, right.
Okay. The diseases of industrialization, obesity, diabetes, heart disease, are caused by the foods of industrialization, chiefly white flour, white sugar, corn oil, and trans fats. There are many specific mechanisms at work here, from inflammation to calcium metabolism. In atherosclerosis, a protein called homocysteine is more dangerous than dietary cholesterol. For more on the real causes of heart disease, read The Heart Revolution by Dr. Kilmer McCulley. It should be a bestseller. So, I mean, her argument basically is that if we eat butter and whole milk and all that crap, we'll be fine as long as we avoid the industrialized trans fat, all that stuff. And, is that stuff bad for you? Absolutely. But animal products are equally as bad, I mean, in a number of ways.
Yeah. And it's amazing that the lengths that people will go through to justify eating what they like.
This is true.
It is just amazing to me. I mean, that whole book that she points out talks about, oh yeah, cholesterol is just a myth. Blah, blah, blah.
She is ridiculous because she's one failed vegan who probably ate like shit while she was vegan. And now she's using the position that she's in to completely diss veganism. And this is why ex-vegans completely and totally annoy me all the time.
Definitely.
Because they do this all the time, right? They try veganism for whatever reason. They want to look cool. They're trying to impress their friends. They want to look different. Whatever the reason. And then for some reason they decide it doesn't work for them because they ate fucking potato chips and Coke for 3 years, or they didn't pay attention to their health, or they ate like shit. And suddenly, they use that as the basis to critique veganism for the rest of their fucking lives, and they don't shut up. And I don't think it's a failure of veganism. I think it's a failure of someone not understanding how to eat properly as a vegan.
Exactly. And we're going to get to that actually later with another piece that we're talking about.
Okay.
But before we do that, since we're still talking about this, the New York Times public editor actually responded to this whole debate. And it's by this op-ed is by Clark Hoyt, the public editor, The Danger of the One-Sided Debate.
So what is the public editor, though? It's worth pointing out what the public editor is at the Times.
I don't know. Who is it?
Well, the public, my understanding of the public editor is that person will look at the feedback and the kinds of things that are being talked about around a lot of the editorials and try to voice kind of a flip side to it.
Ah.
Is that true?
Yes.
Am I imagining
I
this?
believe that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yes. That makes sense.
The public editor serves as the reader's representative. His opinions and conclusions are his own. His column appears at least twice monthly in this section. So he's kind of representing your interest, right?
So he starts out with his op-ed saying, the op-ed page of the New York Times is perhaps the nation's most important forum for airing opinions on the most contentious issues of the day, the war in Iraq, abortion, global warming, and more. We look for opinions that are provocative, said Andrew Rosenthal, the editor of the editorial page. Opinions that confirm what you already thought that aren't interesting. But some opinions provoke more than others. 2 very different columns by guest contributors, one last week and one last month, caused enormous reader outcries and raised important questions. Are there groups or causes so odious that they should be ruled off the page? If the Times publishes a controversial opinion, does it owe readers another point of view immediately? And what is the obligation of editors to make sure that op-ed writers are not playing fast and loose with the facts? And these are all really good questions. And then he goes on to talk about the one from last week was an op-ed piece by someone from Hamas. And he goes on to say that, well, yeah, it's extremely controversial, but in this topic, we hear various opinions on all sides all the time in the newspaper. Okay? So that's why he brings up that and says, yeah, a lot of people is going to find this problematic drink, but that they felt the need to post this. But then he goes on to talk about the Nina Plank op-ed piece, and he says op-ed pages should be open especially to controversial ideas because that's the way a free society decides what's right and wrong for itself. Good ideas prosper in the sunshine of healthy debate, and the bad ones wither. Left hidden out of sight and unchallenged, the bad ones can grow like poisonous mushrooms, which is a really good point. Rosenthal and Shipley said that over time, they try to publish a variety of voices on the most important issues. Regular op-ed readers have seen a wide range of views on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and have had a lot of other information to help judge Youssef's statements. And Youssef was the piece that ran last time. This wasn't the case, however, with a May 21st op-ed piece by Nina Plank, an author who writes about food and nutrition. Sensationally headlined Death by Veganism, Plank's piece hit much closer to home than Youssef's. It said in no uncertain terms that vegans, vegetarians who shun even eggs and dairy products, were endangering the health and even the lives of their children. A former vegan herself, Plank said that she had concluded, quote, "A vegan pregnancy was irresponsible. You cannot create and nourish a robust baby merely on food from plants," end quote. Her Exhibit A was a trial in Atlanta in which a vegan couple were convicted of murder, involuntary manslaughter, and cruelty in the death of their 6-week-old son, who was fed mainly soy milk and apple juice and weighed only 3.5 pounds. The column set off a torrent of reader email that is still coming in, much of it from vegans who send photos of their healthy children or complain bitterly of being harassed by friends and relatives using Plank's column as proof that their diet is dangerous. See, and that was what I was afraid of, that people were going to do exactly that.
That's a good point.
Yeah. If there was another side, a legitimate argument that veganism isn't harmful, Plank didn't tell you. Not her obligation, Rosenthal and Shipley say. But unlike the Middle East, the Times has not presented another view or anything on veganism in its op-ed pages for 16 years.
Well, no, not a clapping for that,
Right,
but I mean...
for acknowledging that.
Exactly.
That's amazing that he acknowledges this. There has been scant news coverage in the past 5 years. There is another side. I can't believe he's actually admitting this. It's amazing.
Really?
Rochelle Leeson, a clinical nutritionist at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, told me that Plank's article was, quote, "extremely inflammatory and full of misinformation," end quote. She and her colleague Brenda Weber pointed me to a 2003 paper by the American Dietetic Association, the nation's largest organization for food and nutrition professionals. After reviewing the current science, the ADA, together with the Dietitians of Canada, declared, well-planned vegan and other types of vegetarian diets are appropriate for all stages of the life cycle, including during pregnancy, lactation, infancy, childhood, and adolescence. Plank said she was aware of the ADA's position, but regarded it as pandering to a politically active vegan community. Now, I have to pause here.
All right. Here's the thing. I mean, if anything, the American Dietetic Association is going to be pandering to the business interests that have influence over the organization.
Exactly.
I mean, this kind of stuff comes through in books like Mary Nestle's Food Politics and a bunch of other places. And we had a voicemail a while ago that talked about this as someone who had read some and done some research on this issue.
The food pyramid. And all
yeah,
that.
right. Mm-hmm. So I think if we're going to see any kind of bias moving in any direction, it's going to be in that direction, not in direction of pandering to the politically active vegan community.
Now, who in the world has ever pandered to the vegan community?
Well, I don't know. You could say all the foie gras stuff is pandering to vegans.
Yes, but it's not like we're ever a group that's pandered to.
Not usually, no.
Not usually.
No.
Anyway. I won't rehash the scientific dispute in a case in which Plank has her experts and the ADA paper cited more than 250 studies.
Yeah, Plank cites one guy, who says that you can eat liver and not have to worry about your heart disease.
Right. But I think the Times owes its reader the other side, published on the op-ed page, not just in 5 letters to the editor that briefly took issue with her. Yeah, at least online, I'm sure it's the same in the regular paper, that they only published 5 letters that they got. And not, of course, I mean, at least 3 of them where people are like, yeah, she's right, yeah.
Go meat.
Vegans suck. Yeah, anyway. I even questioned Plank's Exhibit A, poor little Crown Shakur, who was so shriveled at his death that doctors could see bones in his body. His death, she wrote, quote, may be largely due to ignorance, but it should prompt frank discussion about nutrition, end quote. Maybe if by nutrition you mean a discussion about whether you feed baby anything at all. The prosecutor argued, and the jury believed, that Crown's parents intentionally starved him to death. News coverage of the Times said that the medical examiner, doctors at the hospital to which Crown's body was taken, and an expert nutritionist testified that the baby was not given enough food to survive, regardless of what the food was. Charles Boring, the Fulton County prosecutor who handled the case, told me it was absolutely not about veganism.
What's that guy's last name, Boring?
Boring. That's just so unfortunate.
That sucks.
Plank and Shipley said they were aware of the prosecutor's contention, Shipley said. We're also aware, though, that the convicted couple continues to insist that they were trying to raise their infant on a vegan diet. But the jury didn't believe them, and leaving that out put Plank's whole column on shaky foundation.
Do you know what I have to say to Nina Plank?
Eat me.
Op-ed pages are for debate, but if you only get one side, that's not debate, and that's not healthy.
Well, that's good to hear from the New York Times.
It's surprising.
I've been agreeing with them more often lately. I mean, not just because they quoted me, but they had a thing in there today too about green consumerism, and
Yeah,
I thought that was a pretty good article as
it
well.
was.
Because it talks about how you really can't buy your way, like buying your way to green, to environmental sustainability is not really the way to achieve it.
No.
The idea is to consume less, not to buy green things, right?
Right, and using the example of people who buy like a more environmentally friendly Lexus and have their second home made out of, the solar panels,
Sure.
and, reclaimed materials. And,
But Jenna, won't that make a big difference?
oh yeah,
So I was actually pleased by that because that was actually the gist of what I was arguing in, or not arguing, but saying in when I was talking to the reporter from the New York Times about freedom. So I thought that was pretty cool, and I'm actually surprised to see that. No, that's pretty good for them to do that.
yeah. So I know this whole issue is really annoying and everything, and we've given it a lot of press, but I think that response needed to be heard.
I agree with you. I agree.
A little bit of justice for once.
I guess. I mean, I don't know. There are many people out there who think this way. I don't. But I suppose it's right that we need to fight it as a public matter. We need to take it on in the public sphere because that kind of misinformation really does get propagated and believed very quickly.
Exactly. I mean, if one of our big things about activism is education, there's so many myths out there that
True.
we need to dispel.
Absolutely.
And so we need to educate people on why they're wrong.
I agree.
Okay.
I think you're right.
So,
Nina,
Nina.
I wish I had a stupid fuck sound I could just play for her. Like, Nina, you're a stupid fuck. I don't have anything like that.
Oh, you had to eat me. That was pretty close.
That's what real women need.
That's what she thinks, yeah.
That is what she thinks. That's what real women need.
Yeah.
So, well, Nina,
I'm going to have to go ahead and sort of disagree with you there.
and, Nina, you annoy me. But hopefully this is the end of this.
Right.
Although
I
maybe
hope
we
so,
should
too.
keep an eye on her because I have a feeling she's going to keep saying idiotic things that we
she's
can make
got
fun
a new
of.
book coming out too, which is going to be making
Yeah.
her even more annoying. And of course, the New York Times is going to keep publishing
Wait.
stuff by her because she loves to talk about Happy Meat.
Who is her agent? That's what I want to know. She must have a great agent.
She must.
I don't have an agent. I need an agent to get me placed editorials in the New York Times. I mean, no, she must have an amazing agent because the ideas she has are really fucking stupid, number
Yeah.
one. And, she's completely riding the coattails of this Michael Pollan, omnivore's
completely.
dilemma, even the Peter Singer shit. She's riding the coattails of all that stuff, trying to get these ideas out there. She's just generating buzz for her stupid book, and she's using the New York Times op-ed page as essentially an advertising section. So, I don't even know why they would run her shit. Are they that dumb? Do they not see through it?
Well, they are up Michael Pollan's ass too, so they love it.
Everybody's up Michael Pollan's ass because they like what he has to say.
I know.
A lot of people do, not
Yeah,
everybody.
of course, because it makes them feel good about what they're eating.
Not really, though. I mean,
But, well,
it
it makes them say that, okay, we can still eat meat and feel good about it.
that's true. It makes the foodies feel good, if nothing
Exactly,
else, because it's like
exactly.
it gives you another way to justify buying something really expensive.
Yeah, true.
Okay, moving on.
Moving on. Okay, speaking of annoying ex-vegans.
Oh God,
we
they're an
occasionally-
endless supply.
I know,
of them.
they are. And we keep talking about them, but it's partly because I think we want to share the frustration with our our listeners who often encounter ex-vegans in their daily lives.
Yeah, I run into them fairly often. Like I
Yeah.
used to be a vegan.
Right. Yeah, and because they often show some of the more of the myths that people associate with veganism, and so we're here to break those myths. Anyway, this one comes from Heather. She wrote us an email from Birmingham, UK. She was annoyed about this article.
I wonder if we have any listeners in Birmingham, Alabama.
Probably not.
Go ahead. Sorry.
We might, though. It comes from The Guardian. It's an op-ed piece, and she says, I knew from the line, as a fairly recent convert to meat eating, that the article was going to annoy. The author talks about having moments of clarity and a whole new world opened up to describe his post-vegan eating experiences.
God.
The linked to article that he talks about in the beginning of his piece describes vegans as the paramilitary wing of the vegetarian movement. And the statement at the end of the main article says, most days I still don't eat any meat, is almost like he's trying to make it all okay, as well as the standard happy meat sentence in the prior paragraph. I am sick to the back teeth of meat-eating snobbery, people who feel that there is an art to cooking which directly or indirectly involves animal slaughter, that pastry is a fine skill when made with butter, that game is divine, that cakes are only delicious with the addition of eggs, a chicken period, as one lovely vegan friend puts it. Even friends who I otherwise get on with seem to look down on my food and my cooking. Luckily, some sensible vegans have commented on the original article. So she says after this, I'm going to go join my local vegan society tomorrow. So thanks for Heather for sending this to us.
Awesome.
And so I'm just going to point out a couple things in here. He says, this is by John Dennis.
I think that's penis.
Yeah.
The D, I think it's a P.
Okay, penis.
Sorry, that's an old Rocky Horror Show joke. Go ahead.
Talks about how he is a fairly recent convert to meat eating. So he says, so I enjoy my meat, but you're talking about the sandwich.
I enjoy my meat.
Disgusting.
Just because he doesn't eat it.
Okay, well.
But it was not always so. In my 20s, I was a vegan. For 10 long years, I eschewed the pleasures of the animal flesh. After growing up on a traditional diet of meat and 2 veg, I'd become a vegetarian at 18.
Tampering in dog-sided stuff!
On holiday with some art student friends, I discovered it was possible to eat what seemed to be an interesting food without eating animals. For me, it was a short journey from vegetarian to vegan, which seemed ethically more consistent and had added radical kudos. See, there's your problem right there.
Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, he wanted to appear radical.
Yep.
I will reflect on this shortly.
Okay. This was the 80s when meat was usually poor quality factory farmed, and as lefty students kicking against Thatcher's Britain, the personal was always political. Yeah, so then he talks about how he went to university, had a band, they were vegan. Then he says, I had several moments of clarity, and here's where I roll my eyes. One came at a wedding meal in Sitges in Catalonia.
Oh, you said it correctly. Very good.
Well, I know I said Catalonia.
Oh.
Catalunya.
Yeah, but you said Sitges.
Sitges, yes. My fellow guests, dozens of them tucked into the most beautiful seafood I had ever seen, while I picked listlessly at a particularly depressing salad. Similar experiences followed on subsequent holidays, and I realized that my veggie days were numbered.
I feel so bad for
I know.
Being vegan is so
You
hard.
can tell he's not real vegan because here's where he says that the seafood was beautiful.
Yep,
To me, the only beautiful seafood is the shit that's still swimming in the sea.
that's right. Good point.
And I don't see seafood as beautiful. I find it disgusting.
Yeah, cooked seafood.
Cooked seafood.
Right. You mean sea friends.
Yeah. Sea friends, not food.
Thanks, PETA.
I was sick of the boring recipes in my cookbooks. There was vegan cooking for one, a particularly grim tome. Another, Cooking with Stones, after a veggie restaurant in Wiltshire, featured drawings of right-on 80s types with superior sneers. This came to represent everything I didn't want to be. I was reading Nigel Slater, Jamie Oliver, and I wanted to experience what they were offering. And it came to pass. When my now wife, and then a vegetarian, and I planned a weekend to Whitstable, there was no way we weren't going to try the local specialties, oysters. I'd never had them before.
He needs a kick in his oysters.
Yes, he does. A whole new world opened up. As a kid, seafood meant battered cod, boil-in-the-bag haddock, or crab paste. No wonder I gave it up. Now I was able to buy fresh fish from foodie havens such as Borough Market in London. With the aid of a Rick Stein book, I learned how to deal with the slippery blighters and cook dishes I'd never dreamed I'd eat. That was about 4 years ago. Within a year or so, I was eating meat again. I think it was inadvertently eating roast potatoes cooked in goose fat that did it.
Not vegan.
Not at all. I'm still learning how to cook different cuts of meat, and since I climbed off my moral high horse, I've loved every minute. But what about the ethics? I no longer wish to live by the moral code of an 18-year-old living in the 1980s. I still wanted to eat ethically. I seek out quality ingredients that cause the minimum of harm to the environment. I'm still working out how to do that along with everybody else. Most days, I still don't eat any meat. What I refuse to do is eat the sludgy, bland veggie stodge that was staple for me and my mates in the 80s.
Eat me.
All right. What a dick.
Oh, shit.
Okay, I mean, sometimes you just got to call it like it is. The guy is a dick.
Uh-huh.
Here's why. He takes a choice that he made when he was 18, and a choice that he made for all the wrong reasons, you know. He decided that he wanted to appear radical. He's probably listening to Vegan Reich, you know, all these other, like, hardcore bands or whatever. He wanted to be cool. He fucking chose to be a vegan because he wanted to be radical. He even says it because it had this little appeal to him.
Right.
And he used that essentially as like another part of his little character identity kit.
Right.
You know, Irving Goffman has this thing like, you know, your identity kit, all the different things you put together to make up your identity. Being vegan was part of his little identity kit. He didn't really believe it. He didn't really give a shit about it.
Nope, all his mates were doing it.
All his mates were doing it. He has no fucking brain, right? He's just, going to follow my mates. And there he goes. Follows his friends doing this to appear radical and to look like some cool guy and to kind of, you know, cash in on the cachet of being vegan. What cachet there is in that, I don't fucking know, but he's trying to cash in on it. And he goes vegan for the absolute wrong reasons. The thing is that I think this is why I think people who are ex-vegan should just shut the fuck up. Because I'm vegan, and the way that I approach veganism, I look at these things that I eat, right? There will come a day when I will get so fed up with the animal rights movement and with podcasting and with forums and with everything else that I will put it down and walk away from it. I don't know when that'll come, but there will be a day that comes, right? I'm 100% positive that day will come, right? I hope it doesn't come soon. Sometimes I think it will, but but there will be a day when I will put it all down, walk away from it, and never do anything related to animal activism again, right? But there will never be a day for the rest of my life that I will not be vegan, and I am 100% certain of that. How can I be so certain? I am certain of it because I am repulsed by meat. I am physically repulsed by the sight of it. I'm repulsed by the smell of it. It bothers me, you know? Like sometimes I think it smells okay, maybe a roasting chicken or something, but I see it and then I feel disgusted by it. And it is for me a visceral response at the core of my being, and I know that will always be there for me. You know, and I think someone who is truly ethically vegan, maybe you don't have that visceral response to it, but you have that feeling in your inside of yourself where you know that it's not right.
Right.
You feel that it's not right. And you are disgusted by the process, the enslavement of animals. You're disgusted by the things that create the context through which animals are property and commodities. You do not believe that they should be exploited in the way that they are. And that reaction is something that is so strong in you that you know you will never go back. That's how I feel. So there will be a day when I say fuck you to the entire movement and I put it all down and walk away. But there will never be a day when I say fuck you to veganism and put it all down and walk away, ever. Because there couldn't be. Because I can't even imagine it. I can't imagine it. So this guy, you know, like you said, he went and saw the seafood and it looked good to him. Seafood never looks good to me.
Nope.
You know?
Nope.
And I'm not saying that that's like before we get the emails, but I'm not saying it's like the be all end all. Everybody has different reactions to it. Some people still crave cheese or the various non-vegan foods they ate. But I guess what I'm trying to say is like, it's more of a feeling that you have deep in yourself. I don't know how to put it.
Yeah. Well, even these people who, I mean, I know there are longtime vegans who still crave these kinds of things. I think, there's probably a lot associated with that. It might be good childhood memories.
Absolutely.
It might be that it still does smell good to them, but they still have that feeling deep down that they know it is wrong and they could never do it.
That's right.
So I think that deep down feeling, knowing it's wrong, you might think it still smells good, but
yeah.
You don't have to be physically repulsed by it. But
no.
That is the reaction that a lot of us get. But
once you know and you really believe it, I guess this is my point.
Yeah.
Not the revulsion, all that stuff.
Right,
but once you really know and once you really feel it, how can you possibly go back? On the previous show, I talked about how veganism is this choice that I have all the time. Like, even in the moments when I'm alone and I could do whatever the fuck I wanted. I could go eat a hamburger if I wanted to. No one would know. Like if I'm on the road and I'm by myself, I could go into McDonald's and eat a hamburger. Why don't I? Because it's wrong. And it's wrong for me whether I'm in public. It's wrong for me whether I'm in private. It's wrong for me in all of those moments. And that's the thing. It's a choice that is there with you all the time. For this guy, though, it's a different thing. He is in veganism for the wrong reasons. And I think people who are going to be that way shouldn't be involved with veganism, period. I don't think they do us any favors.
No, not at all. So,
go ahead.
Yep. But when he talks about climbing off his moral high horse and he's loved every minute, that's no way to live. Why?
What do you mean?
So he's basically saying ignorance is bliss.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, that I'm not going to think about it. I'm not going to really care about it, and therefore I'm going to be happy.
Yep.
And he's judging the quality, of vegan food from shit back in the 70s and the early 80s, when you didn't have a whole lot of choice, like he said. But
come on,
But at the same time, he sees like the height of cooking and, you know, as being these stupid
Sure.
fucking gourmet bullshit.
It's
foodie.
potato and goose fat.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's frustrating.
It is.
It's really frustrating. The ex-vegan thing frustrates me a great deal because I guess like physically, I can't understand it. Like I can't understand how you could feel the way that I think about how I feel about this stuff. And I think, how could I feel the way I feel and ever go back? I couldn't.
Nope.
It would make me feel ill. Like to try to eat a piece of meat, you know?
I couldn't even get it past my lips.
That's what I'm
Ever.
trying to say. Like, it'd be hard for me to go back.
Yeah.
That's why I think people who are ex-vegans were never really in it
Nope.
for the right reasons. I mean, like, I know it's like, you know, completely ridiculous thing to say. If you aren't vegan now, you never were. But in a way, I understand that. You know, I understand that.
Yep.
But I'm a radical fundamentalist fuckhead, so what do I know?
You are. But what I want to know is, how do all of these ex-vegans get op-ed jobs? There are so many op-ed pieces and you know, things on the internet, various things on the internet from ex-vegans. Where do they get these positions?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it could be that editors actually want to see these things because it affirms their belief about veganism.
Yeah, I suppose.
Maybe we need to start writing editorials about why veganism is important.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah.
That's what we need. We need to get that in there.
Well, the thing is that if you write something like that, you might as well just like go out in your front yard and hit yourself in the head with a brick over and over
True.
because, you know, the volume of stupid email you're going to get from all the meat-eating
my
idiots
God.
out there is just like ridiculous.
It is.
So
Yeah, exactly.
if you really want to hurt yourself, you know, hit yourself in the head with a brick. It's probably more no.
Probably.
But I think we do need to start making those connections. I actually think it's important for a lot of us to go out there and start doing media outreach in the ways that we can, without letting groups like PETA do it for us. Because the kind of shit that they do is really stupid. I mean, repeatedly, really fucking stupid, over and over again, really fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Well, anyway,
There are people out there making their own YouTube videos and stuff.
that's right.
That's-
And making their
that-
own podcasts and
Yeah.
writing great blogs and all that. And speaking of really fucking stupid, let's move on to our next story. This is from Vegblog. Speaking of people that are doing their own media, Vegblog is Ryan's little what do you call it? Blog.
Blog.
And he has an entry on the blog from the 28th of June called "Mitt Romney is an Idiot." So, and he what he does is describes it. There's a puff piece on Republican presidential candidate Mitt Romney, and Ryan writes in it, Romney describes packing the family up for a summer trip. So this is from wherever the piece is from. I don't.
I didn't get the link.
Yeah, it doesn't.
The
really
link's
matter.
in the original Veg blog.
Which we'll link to.
Okay.
Before beginning the drive, Mitt Romney put Seamus, the family's hulking Irish setter, in a dog carrier and attached it to the station wagon's roof rack. He'd built a windshield for the carrier to make the ride more comfortable for the dog. Oh, that silly Mitt.
Yeah.
Let's just go back to make sure that everyone understood this, because when Jenna first told me about this, I didn't believe it. I went, whoa, what? Okay. Before beginning the drive, road trip, Mitt Romney put Seamus, the family's hulking Irish setter, in a dog carrier and attached it to the station wagon's roof rack. Roof racks are on the roof.
The roof.
Outside of the car.
Right.
Okay, so he took the dog, put it in a carrier, and attached it to the roof rack. He built a windshield for the carrier to make the ride more comfortable for his dog. Okay.
Oh, isn't he so caring?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what Ryan says. Wow, he's so caring. He builds a windshield for the carrier? So, and Ryan goes, dude, your dog isn't a piece of luggage. And it's true. Your dog is not a piece of luggage. And he goes on to say, okay, here's how Seamus gets treated. Ryan says Seamus gets treated as property. I think this is true. A brown liquid was dripping down the back window. Now, the dog was scared shitless,
Yes,
quite literally.
literally.
It was scared. It was so scared of being on a roof that it was shitting itself. I mean, what else could it be? Anyway, a brown liquid was dripping down the back window, payback from an Irish setter who'd been riding on the roof in the wind for hours. As the rest of the boys joined in the howls of disgust, Romney coolly pulled off the highway and into a service station. There he borrowed a hose, washed down Seamus in the car, then hopped back onto the highway. It was a tiny preview of a trait he would grow famous for in business, emotion-free crisis management. Okay, let's say, what if Seamus were his son? You put your son on the roof, your son gets the shits because it's scared to death. He's scared to death. And then you pull into a service station and spray your son down with a fucking hose. I mean,
you'd get arrested before you left the the rest stop.
I can't believe he didn't get pulled over for having the dog on the roof.
I can't either, especially because I heard this on it was the Wait Don't Tell Me, that NPR quiz thing.
Yeah.
They were actually talking about this, and they even said they're like, this is animal cruelty.
Yeah.
That if he were to be pulled over in Massachusetts, it's against the law to do that. That he would have been arrested.
He should have been.
He should have been. I cannot believe anyone would even consider doing that
I know.
to a dog.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, not just any dog, but an Irish Setter, which is a very, very large dog. It's like
They're
he's about
big.
the size of a lab, isn't he? He's about
Aren't
probably
they even-
80,
they're even
80,
bigger.
80, 100 pounds or so.
I think they're about, in that range. I think they're even bigger than labs.
not that I'm saying you should put small dogs on, but
Sure you should.
but
I think you should
Yeah.
just put children on the roof. I mean, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
poor Seamus.
Yeah, and Mitt Romney, this guy, whenever I see him, I just hear these, you ever watch The Omen? And I hear like, da, 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 da. I hear like the little voices in the background. Like every time I see him, I hear like Carmina Burana playing in my head, Like I see him and I see the flames licking up behind him because this man is the Antichrist. He is so slippery, man. He is like, he does not have a position that he could not go back on.
Nope.
And on top of it all, he wears special undergarments when he goes to temple. So, yes.
But yeah.
I just think he's a ridiculous person, number one. I mean, he's plastic, and I do think he's the Antichrist.
Yes.
I mean, I don't really believe in Christ, so it'd be hard for me to believe in the Antichrist. But if there were to be an Antichrist, and if the devil were to manufacture a presidential candidate, much like he did in some of my favorite movies, the Omen trilogy, the original 3 from like the 70s and the early 80s, great movies, man. They're worth watching. So good.
They are good.
They're so good. They're cheesy, but they're great. Okay. Mitt Romney is the Omen. I think if you were to dig under that perfect little hair, the sculpted do that he has, and you were to like dig a little deeper back there in the crown of his head, you would find 666 back there. You would. I swear.
Yeah. But
Tampering in dioxide stuff.
But what?
Ryan makes a good point in his blog entry that he says this is supposed to be showing him as having a good trait, like like the emotionless business response.
Yeah.
And that to me, emotionless business, that says to me sociopath. That doesn't say to me a good president.
No, me either.
That's just not good.
Yeah,
So,
that tells me that he cannot put himself in the shoes of another.
no,
Not
at all.
I mean, wouldn't you think for a second, like, wow, that would suck up there in the wind?
Yeah, going down the highway,
Yeah.
65 miles an hour.
I don't know, man.
Poor dog.
What a dick. Everybody's a dick. Today. I don't know. So,
I believe that's the end of all of our articles.
good. Good.
Oh, we have a new sound we should play.
We no longer enslave animals for food purposes.
I was going to play it later.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay, though.
You didn't tell me that.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
But that's okay.
Okay.
I'll play. Believe me,
play it again.
We'll get a lot of mileage out of it.
This is
Like
true.
we get a lot of mileage out of all of them.
The internets.
I like that one. Okay. Anyway, moving on. We should do some.
Speaking of, if you haven't watched the cartoon Little Bush,
Oh, Little Bush
oh my
is the
God,
best.
you have to watch. It's
Yes,
hilarious.
you must watch Little Bush. It is very funny. It is very funny. So.
Little Cheney's the best. Anyway, for those of you who maybe can't see it, they're all the characters from the White House are like little kids,
Right.
And they have little Cheney, little Rumsey, and
Little Jeb.
Condi.
I love Little
Jeb.
Jeb.
And little Cheney, and they had this one part where they have their fathers, and little Cheney's dad is Darth Vader.
There's another part too where little Cheney's running around biting the heads off of animals and drinking the blood out of them. Oh, it's great.
And we're all sitting there thinking, not so surprising.
Not at all. Not at all. Little Bush is worth watching. So I'm pretty sure, yeah, it's not hard to find
No,
if you
it's on
look for
Comedy
it.
Central.
So
It was in the U.S.
actually, on the 4th, aren't they having a mini marathon? They're playing all 3 of them.
I believe so.
Check it out.
Yeah.
I think you'll enjoy it. It was very funny.
Yeah.
And Little Jeb is the best too. Okay, anyway, moving on.
Time once again for some vegan freak voicemail. Maybe we'll hear from a hot chick
or a choice male.
Callers make us happy and help us keep our sanity, even if all they wanna do is fucking complain about the shitload of profanity.
All right, we've got a bunch of voicemails. I have to say, though, I have been busy trying to complete the first draft of my book, Making a Killing Political Animal Rights. Making a Killing the Political Economy of Animal Rights. Most of my spare cycles have been going towards that. So, and my non-spare cycles as well. All of my processing power has been going towards Making a Killing the Political Economy of Animal Rights, which my publisher will be very happy to hear. However, that means that I have not had time to do things like get the my chingos and modify them for the show as they need to be modified and stay on top of these things. So next time we will have a my chingo blowout. Out. I should have added some effects there, but whatever. When I will catch up with the ball. But it's like I just finished what is probably pretty much the first complete draft of the book. So
Yay.
That's a good thing. Mm-hmm. But as a downside of that means I haven't been as on top of shit as I should be, like the rest of my life. So anyway, I'm not making excuses, except that I am making excuses, but we've got voicemails for you, and the My Chingo people, don't give up. Don't give up on us, baby. We'll come back for you next time. All right, we've got a bunch of voicemails. Let's begin with Anna.
Hi, Bob and Jenna. This is Anna again. I'm hoping that you know me by now. I call in a lot. But anyways, I'm in San Francisco, right? And a week or so ago, I went with a vegan friend to Haight Street for a festival. I'm assuming that when anybody thinks of Haight Street, they probably think of the Haight-Ashbury movement in the 60s. That's what I'm assuming. That's what I think about, like, when I walk along those streets. And, I'm not assuming that hippies didn't eat meat, but when I think about those ideals that they held very closely, I just assume that maybe they thought about the consumption of creatures that are just like them, and those people, had pretty much enough compassion to feed a third world country.
Dude, you're like totally harsh in my mellow.
Anyways, I was also keeping in mind that this movement is like long gone, and now hate has gone to shit, and it has like numerous hipster clothing stores and fucking hipsters walking around everywhere I go, but I'm not even gonna get into that right now. But anyways, I assume that going to like Haight for a festival would be somewhat pleasant. When I got there were a lot of activists for peace, handing out flyers, a lot of people advocating passion for, all people. But guess the fuck what? I have never seen so many fucking meat stands in my entire life. Almost every block had at least 4 huge barbecues full of fucking flaming animal, and me and my friend were almost running the whole time just to escape all the fumes. Like, all I can really remember about the entire day was being like, fuck, shit, fuck this, what the fuck? I can't breathe. Oh my God, why? So honestly, it could have been the 4th of July, and I wouldn't have seen more meat stands than I did that day. Like, I was walking around like, oh my God, vegan anywhere, vegan, please. Oh my God. Like, I was beyond furious. Like, anyways, I found a really, really small vegan stand, like pretty much the only one I saw for like 5 or 6 blocks. And they served some really good food, some good burritos, smoothies. That was about it, though. It was fucking ridiculous. Like, you'd think that these people, with all of these radical values about, peace and, fuck Bush and, and there's a lot of people, too, that are like, fuck corporations and, like,
unless it's Whole Foods.
Are you kidding me? And there's, like, people gnawing on dead animal everywhere. Like, I don't know. I was so fucking angry. I'm sorry if this voicemail is, like, really depressing, but I barely have any vegan friends around here, and so when I talk about this, people, like, don't get it. But anyways, I thought that, all these people with these values and so, peace and, these people would somewhat care about other living beings that live among us, but apparently I deserve a slap in the face. But that's about it. I don't know if this voicemail is going to make it onto the show, but I really, really had to express my anger to you guys because it was really ridiculous. Okay, bye.
Okay, hope you feel better.
Yeah.
But I want to say, unlike the hippies,
We no longer enslave animals for food purposes.
I actually think there are two different strands I want to seize upon here. The first strand is that a lot of like the Back to the Earther types and a lot of the hippies and folks like that actually believe that consuming animals is like the way it is, man. Like it's the way nature operates, man, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, especially if it's happy meat.
Happy meat.
Happy meat.
So there's this idea that, you know, it's like being in the process, the circle of life, man. Like, you know, and we need to like respect the spirit of the animal, man. You know, there's all that. I've heard it all. And frankly, I have very little patience for that. You know, it's like, yeah, let me respect your spirit. I'll kill you and eat you, fucker. That's the first thing. The second thing, though, and a somewhat more sympathetic reading, perhaps, is that if we step away from the hippies for a moment, because they stink. No, I'm kidding.
At the very least, they smell like patchouli.
Oh, shit. Oh, man. Oh, that reminds me of a funny joke I once heard. What's red and yellow and smells like patchouli?
What?
A hippie on fire. But stepping away from that, if you look at other kind of left causes, this is something I've been writing and thinking about a lot lately. I think that there is generally just a lack of awareness about it. A lot of people aren't confronted with it. A lot of people don't have the occasion to think about it. And we live in a society in which very, very infrequently people have to think about these issues. In one of the books that I read by Noam Chomsky, I can't remember, maybe it's him talking about anarchism or something, but he mentions that often we don't recognize oppression right away. Like that what in our particular time frame, what looks like oppression to us won't look like oppression to people in 50 years. That the whole context of oppression shifts and changes. And I think that that's true in a lot of ways. I think a lot of people just simply don't see it as oppression. And we live in a society in which we go to great lengths to hide all of these relationships of oppression that take place in the way that we treat animals, right? Mm-hmm. All that stuff's hidden. It's done for us. You know, it's secondhand violence, essentially. And so by all of these relationships being covered up, we don't think about oppression. It's not in our faces. We don't have to really deal with it. And, you know, there's this ideology out there in our society that operates that, you know, basically most people know that some violence is being done for their food, but the way that we live in the world, you know, we live in a world that basically makes that okay. So what I'm trying to say is that I think that the next cause that, not the next cause, but I think that we need to make it clear to people on the left that the struggle for animal rights is an important one if we're concerned about justice. I mean, the left itself will often tell you that they're interested in issues of promoting justice for the least among us, you know? Mm-hmm. And I think who is the least among us but animals as well, you know? It's like animals can't really fight back in any significant way. Mm-hmm. So if we're serious about justice for everyone, we need to be serious about justice for animals as well.
Mm-hmm. And of course, we always have to fight against the people who say, well, we have to put people first.
Yeah.
You know, and when we need to explain, no, we can fight for everyone at the same time.
We can.
So,
I mean, well, I hear that a lot from liberals too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with all the people out there suffering, oh my God, there's so much suffering in the world. They're pounding their chest, you know, fucking hell. They always say, we have to put people first. And I say, okay, you know, interesting. You mentioned that. Should we put men before women? You know, should we put white people before black people? Because this is the same kind of argument you're making. You know, it's like white people and black people are suffering.
Right. Or I'm only going to fight against sexism. I'm not going to fight against racism, too.
Well, that's it. Exactly. So, I mean, you know, and being vegan is so easy. Mm-hmm. It's so simple. And, you know, I have such little patience for these. It's so hard. You know, maybe if you're like 15 living at home and you can't buy your own food, then maybe it's hard. But I live in the rural ass crack of America. I live in one of the most rural counties in the fucking country, and I can be vegan here, you know?
And it's easy.
And it's not that hard. It's not that hard. Every grocery store has the basic things you need to be vegan. What I'm getting at is that, you know, veganism is an easy step to take to limit the suffering that you produce in the world. And I think the left needs to be convinced of that. Will they ever be? Probably not.
Probably not.
Because a lot of them love their burgers and they love the shit. They love their leather jackets and they love their cool boots. You know, they love that stuff. But they need to also recognize that it's causing suffering and pain that's unnecessary.
Hi, Vegan Freaks. It's Charlotte. I was going to call with all these interesting topics I had thought of and points of view, but all that just goes right down the drain, and I'm calling to just complain because I'm so frustrated. I just went to order a salad, just a salad, green salad, and it comes with Parmesan on it. Why you put Parmesan cheese on a green salad, I'm not sure. But all I said was...
Charlotte, come on. You can't have a salad without some kind of animal product on it.
When I called to order in, no cheese, absolutely no cheese. And I didn't say it's because I'm allergic or that I didn't like it. I said, it's for a vegan, no cheese. And they said, yeah, sure, definitely. So I go to pick up my food. I trust them, thinking that they'd, actually get it right. I get back to work. I open my salad. There's tons of cheese. Why? I mean, I know it seems minor, but I have learned if you're going to be vegan and not eat dairy products, especially stuff like cheese, you have to check your food with a fine-tooth comb before you eat it. You have to check everything. They'll sneak that junk into everything you could possibly order. I just don't understand. How hard is it to just not put, cow rape products on the food? That's all I was going to say. I hope you guys don't have similar experiences, but I bet you do. And my other problem, I was wondering your opinion. Do you know why in our society people automatically assume that if you're vegan, your diet is unhealthy? Like, you can walk into a McDonald's and order a Big Mac or Whopper or whatever they do at McDonald's and sit down there and eat it, and no one will bat their eyes at you. But if you tell people you're vegan, they instantly assume that you're, going to die because you don't have any protein and you're going to be sick and you're unhealthy. And it's like, all I eat is vegetables. Since when are vegetables unhealthy? I don't get that. Even my mom, who I adore, and she's very supportive, but I know she thinks I'm unhealthy. So I don't understand where that came from.
Well, I think one of the big places that comes from is the fact that the dairy and meat and all those other industries pay for curricular materials and have it very strongly in the past, especially paid for curricular materials. So a lot of people grow up learning, that milk and eggs and meat are healthy. And there are those ads, with, who is that model? The one with the big zit on her face? Cindy Crawford. Yeah, it's not a zit, a mole.
Mole.
The big mole on her face, right? Ads with her with this painted on milk mustache and all that stuff. It makes us believe, oh yeah, milk is healthy.
I know.
So if you don't eat that stuff, you're not healthy. When in fact, that's the stuff that'll kill you.
I know. It's ridiculous. I mean, you ask people, okay, what's something healthy to eat? And I bet you 9 times out of 10, they'll mention vegetables.
Yep.
Right? And everybody knows that vegetables are good to eat, like you just said. But at the same time, if for some reason, if you only eat vegetables, that's unhealthy. It doesn't compute to me, but
me either.
Whatever. But yeah, for those exact reasons. And the other problem with the Parmesan, I've seen a lot of people with this problem. I've actually had this problem too. Ordering a salad saying no cheese, and it still comes back with Parmesan, or ordering a pizza with no cheese, and it still comes back with Parmesan, is that people for some reason don't equate Parmesan with cheese. They don't. I don't know why. Maybe because in the grocery store it's not in the same aisle usually. It's in the spaghetti aisle because it doesn't need to be refrigerated, which is kind of strange to me. But I don't know why some people don't understand that Parmesan is cheese.
Here's what you need to tell people.
So people need to say no Parmesan. You need to specify no Parmesan.
No Parmesan, no cheese. If I get any, I will violently projectile vomit on the table. I'm horribly allergic, and if I get any of this, I will violently projectile vomit. I mean,
yeah.
You put it in those terms, no waitstaff wants that to happen.
No.
You start
So, yeah.
If I accidentally eat it, I will violently projectile vomit.
Yeah, so.
That's disgusting.
Right. So maybe we should play the one about milk after this one.
Milk.
It's called milk.
Hey, this is just in response to the people from Ireland who had their vegan pregnancy. My sister told me yesterday that a friend of hers, the doctor just recommended that she drink 6 glasses of milk a day while she's pregnant. 6! Yeah. So I thought that was really crazy.
6.
Even in non-veganness, that's crazy. But that's crazy. Okay. Love you guys. Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now, this is one of the myths that we need to dispel out there as vegans.
Milk and calcium.
Is that milk and calcium. I mean, even doctors, as like this doctor shows, don't even realize that there are other sources of calcium out there. People believe that milk is the best source of calcium. People believe it's the only source of calcium, both of which are wrong, because milk is not good for you. Not even the skim milk. It's not good for you. Milk, because of its high protein content and high animal protein content especially, leaches calcium out of your bones. And this is especially problematic for pregnant mothers because pregnant mothers need extra calcium because they're building the bones of their child. I just read about this the other day.
Very good. Keep going.
that you need extra vitamin D, and make sure you don't drink too much soda because soda can also leach calcium out of your body.
Soda's just horrible.
Because women actually lose up to 10% of the calcium in their own body to provide calcium to provide the skeleton for their child.
It's like a parasite.
So, but if you do, the ironic thing about drinking milk is that it actually has the opposite effect of leaching more calcium out of your bones because of the protein content. And animal protein especially has this effect. So meat also. So milk, not the good source of calcium that it is all made out to be. And vitamin D is added to milk, by the way. It's not naturally there. People always think naturally. No, go out in the sunshine, get yourself some vitamin D.
Unless you live in a northern climate like where we do.
Yes, in which case you need to drink some.
In which case it's 50 degrees on the 1st of July.
Yeah, ridiculous. God, pisses me off.
Me too.
Anyway, so much better sources of calcium out there.
We
green
need to move.
leafies, green
we
leafies.
need to move somewhere warm. Green leafies, yes. Broccoli.
These kinds of things.
Broccoli's good, isn't it?
Yes, tofu that's been done with calcium salts.
There you go.
There's lots of other things out there. Google it.
Google it. But the thing is that, that doctor said this to that person, and wanting to be a good mother, I'm sure she'll listen.
Yeah. I mean, you want to do what's best for your child.
That's right.
So you think, I need my calcium.
Not everybody says to their doctor, you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Well, no, I never said that to our doctor, but
no.
I don't always listen to everything she says because I don't agree.
Mm-hmm.
Or I tell her I don't agree.
You question her, so.
You should question your doctor and then go do research.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody has the ability to do that, of course, but I think it's important to do that.
Yeah.
All right, moving on.
Hey, vegan freaks. My name is Debbie. I had emailed you guys a couple of days ago. I am a vegan. I live in Blairstown, New Jersey. And I want to tell you my story. I have a lot of stories to tell you because I just absolutely love you guys.
Well, thank you.
I got introduced to your podcast from a friend named Teresa who just recently went vegan. And I've been vegan for about 5 years will be in November.
Way to go, Teresa. Thank you.
So I'm very excited about that. And hearing you guys talk is just so inspiring. For the past weekend, I've been just listening to you over and over again, and it has just rekindled a flame in my heart
This may cause brain damage. We do not recommend it.
about veganism and activism and animal rights and the movement and all. And I wanted to call you and talk about. I rescued 2 calves. One is named Herbie and one is Kavina. Herbie the calf was actually in December of 2006, jumped off a slaughter truck in Brooklyn, New York, and was running through the streets, and it was on the news, Channel 2. And I saw it, and I was devastated because the newscasters were kind of laughing about it, saying, oh, look at the poor guy, he's looking for his mommy and stuff like that. So I got a little upset, obviously a little upset. And I called up the newscast, and I wanted to find out what was happening to the little guy because I was concerned for his welfare. And I would do anything to get him out of the situation. Backtracking, I just bought a house last June. This will be a year, June 19th, that I have this house. It has 8 acres. Built a barn and put up some fencing, and always wanted to rescue a cow from slaughter. I know, cow living in my backyard. Something I always wanted to do. A cow, a baby cow, a mom and a baby cow. So anyway, I hear about Herbie. I make some phone calls, and I know Jenny Brown from the Woodstock Farm Animal Sanctuary. And I called her the next day asking if she knew anything about Herbie's plight. And she said, absolutely. Anyway, Jenny Brown rescued Herbie, and she didn't have enough room for him, so I rescued him. She said that would be a great idea, so she allowed me to adopt him because she knew me from other activism stuff. And she knew my dedication to veganism and all the animals. So anyway, I didn't want Herbie to be alone, so she actually had an opportunity to rescue a dairy calf that was actually going to be drowned because they thought the dairy calf was a boy, and they had no use for him. And this woman who was working there was devastated, so she saved the calf and brought it to the farm sanctuary, and it wound up being a girl. They thought she was a boy. They thought he was a boy. Well, they thought she was a boy. They thought the umbilical cord was a penis. So they actually let her take a dairy calf off the lot. Anyway, so I was going to name him Kevin because I wanted to name him after Kevin from Shaq, in in honor of him. And it wound up being a girl, so I named her Kavina. Anyway, so they get to Blairstown in New Jersey in February, and they move in, and they're just doing great. And now I just had a baby shower in May for them. I had about 50 vegans over my house from New Jersey. It was awesome.
Cool.
I didn't know you. I would have invited you. And we celebrated their birth and their safety and their love, and they're just awesome. They're growing up really big and stuff like that. Just wanted to share that great story with you. It's a happy story, finally something happy, and I'm looking forward to adopting some more animals. I'm not quite sure yet what I want to get next, but my neighbors are being very nice right now because I have about 4 cats outside as well. They're barn cats, and I have 5 dogs and 5 cats in the house. So I have 16 babies, furry babies.
Wow.
The voicemail went on from there, but it was really kind of long, so I wanted to cut it, but get the best gist of the story, so it was there.
Well, that's cool that you were able to really help out those animals.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's excellent. And, it's good also that you live in a place where you can have farm animals at your house because in a lot
Jersey?
Yeah, because in a lot of places, actually, if you're within the boundaries of a certain area, you can't actually have farm animals.
Yeah.
So that's excellent, and that's a very happy story. And we're glad that we've been able to provide you with some entertainment. And I'm so happy to hear that you're able to provide a home for all 16 of your fur babies.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Excellent.
Hi, this is Derek Goodwin from Vegan Radio, and I'm driving to Woodstock Farm Animal Sanctuary for their June Jamboree and listening to the latest Vegan Freak podcast, the Go Meat episode. Had response for a couple of your emailers. I happen to be a vegan wedding photographer, meaning I'm vegan and a wedding photographer, not that I only do vegan weddings, so that's my dream someday. Anyway, there was the caller with the top 10 list and asking about what to say instead of cheese when you're taking people's pictures. I found that saying, say tofu is very effective. It usually gets people to laugh because, most of them are meat eaters at my weddings, and they think it's pretty funny even if they don't know why I'm saying it. And maybe that'll make them think down the road. I don't know. But tofu is a pretty funny food, so... And, I don't like my photography to be associated with cheese at any rate because cheese is bad on many levels, metaphorically and in reality. And then the other caller, emailer I wanted to address was the one who was asking about they were having ill feelings towards their friends and family when they had to share meals with them that had meat or dairy or whatever. It's also an issue for me at weddings because I go to these rituals that are supposed to be all about love and the coming together and the spiritual union of these people, and then shortly after the ritual, they're there with 200 of their closest friends and family enjoying a carnage of hundreds of dead animals, and got interrupted there. Anyway, after the ritual, there's this reception of carnage where dead animals are being served to everybody, and the whole ballroom, which is usually a giant room, starts to smell like a big chamber of death. And, my stomach is churning, and all these people are sitting there enjoying their carcasses, and by the time they're done, they haven't even eaten half of it, and it's all going back to get, all these half-eaten carcasses are going back to get scraped into the garbage, and it's really a horrible thing, and it's hard not to feel bad thoughts about people when you see this. But in my personal life, what I've done is, as years go by as a vegan, I've, more and more of my friends are vegetarian and vegan, and so it's not as much of an issue. But one good thing you can do is just, invite people to meals that you either prepare or at a vegan restaurant or a vegetarian restaurant if there is one around you. And
good idea.
Then you're leveling the playing field. You got them, and you can impress them with some new cuisine they might not have ever tried, and as long as you're good at cooking, you know, you don't want to invite them over for a really bad meal, I suppose. But it's one way to still enjoy the company of your friends around a meal that doesn't offend you. Not always possible, but good luck with that either way. And thanks for the great podcast. Later.
Thanks, Derek. Very much appreciate that. I think that's a great idea.
Great advice.
Have people over or meet them at a vegetarian restaurant.
Definitely.
Yeah, good stuff. And you should check out Derek's show at Vegan Radio. Man, I don't know the URL off the top of my head. I'll put it in the show notes.
Alrighty.
Cool. And trucking on through to the next one.
Hi, I was listening to episode number 74, and you had a small dissertation on honey and why it's not vegan and honeybees. Well, I just wanted to say that I'm a biology major, and last semester I had to write a term paper on the socio-behavior of bees, and my paper is basically on the contrast between humans and bees and how similar they are. I can only find my rough draft, which is about 5 pages, which, if you want, I can send to you for some light reading, but I can just give you a quick outline. Basically, some points I made is that bees live in a community with every individual having a specific job to maintain the hive and the lives of the colony. Also, bees have a specialized dance language that they use to communicate many things, such as exact locations of food sources, orientation, and so on. And it also notes in my paper that bees have been living in this community lifestyle way longer than humans. But also, there's a group of bees that when they feel that there's an intruder present will actually sting them, causing them to give their lives just for the safety of the community. But if you think about it, who's this intruder? None other than the honeybee farmer who's trying to collect the honeycomb that they work so hard on to make just so a couple people can have honey with their tea? I don't think so. Well, anyways, next time someone asks you why honey isn't vegan, why don't you tell them to stop trying to find a fucking loophole, make a decision, and stick to it? I'm really sick of weak-minded activists, so why don't they take a seat and let the real troops lead? Okay, sorry about the rant. Love you, too. You're doing great. Bye.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yes, I agree.
That's a really good point about the beekeeper. He's the intruder, and that the bees will give their lives because when they sting, they die to protect the hive.
This is true. But
that's interesting.
But such a good point. It's like, I've heard so many vegans, quote unquote vegans over the year, or vegans, tell me, you know, that they need to eat honey or just a little honey in my tea.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It's like, you know, why? Put the honey down. Jesus. Okay, moving on. Thank you for that.
Hey guys, this is Jamie from California. This is the second time I'm trying recording this, not try to be fast. Anyway, I am putting together an article that talks about kind of like environmental sustainability and how it's affected by animal production. And so I'm doing research for that and was looking on Grist, which is like an environmental kind of blog. And there's this article that's exactly what it's about, but the whole thing just ticks me off. I was really looking forward to reading this article. I thought it would be really good. But it's like the guy who writes it is just talking about how, you know, most hunting should be opposed and most animal testing should be opposed and, you know, but, there's exceptions to everything. You know, like, if one species is overpopulating, then God knows we have to hunt them, right? I don't know, it's just really irritating. And then there's this one sentence that just pushed me over the edge. It says, it would be immoral to favor the survival of animals over humans, which is absolutely unbelievable to me. And I know that, you know, you guys already know this, but it's like my brother always asks me, he gives me a hard time about being vegan, and he's always like, well, if you had to save either a rat's life or my life, who would you choose? Which, okay, in and of itself is a really stupid question. But, of course, I always say, yeah, I would choose my brother. But that is the same as saying, you know, would I save my own life or like would I save his life or, you know, Joe Schmo,
right,
3,000 miles away who I've never met.
Some random person.
Just because, like, I know him in a way that I don't know a rat, you know? But it's, like, still, on a, like, evolutionary scale, they're the same. Just because I'm more familiar with one doesn't mean that... I don't know. I cannot believe that it actually says it's immoral. It is absolutely immoral, apparently.
Well, I mean... you hear this stuff a lot in the mainstream environmental movement. You know, it's like the whole idea of we need to be the earth's shepherds and, you know, take care of the earth. And I'm like, you know, this is the exact same problem. This is the exact same thing that got us into the problems that we're in right now. The belief that we can manage these things.
And that we're the best people to do it.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's hubris, if you ask me.
I mean, look, you know, burning house scenarios, lifeboat scenarios, whatever you want to call those. I mean, there are a couple ways you can call
your child or the dog.
Your child or the dog scenarios. All those things aside, none of that really has an impact in the way that being vegan operates. I mean, being vegan is just simply saying, look, I don't need to create suffering to eat. I mean, and to live, you know, and to the greatest extent possible, I'm not going to do that. It's a very straightforward proposition. You know, it's really simple. It's like, if you agree that suffering is wrong, and you agree that it is good to create the least possible suffering, then you should live in a way that does that. It's that straightforward.
It is. It doesn't mean that we like humans any less than we like animals. Or,
I do.
You know.
I'm kidding.
But these are the kinds of things that come up when you say that. It's
Yeah,
like,
I know.
Well, how do you get that from what I just said? You know, it's like people love to look for loopholes.
They do.
As the previous caller said, that it's just ridiculous.
Okay. Well, thanks for that, Jamie. Did you have anything else you want to add?
No, I don't think so.
Hey, Bob and Jenna. This is Laura. I've been listening to your podcast for a while now, mostly at work because they let us.
Stealing company time to listen to Bob and Jenna. That will get you in trouble. That's not good. Don't do that. You're going to steal company time.
And I'm standing in my new apartment, which my boyfriend and I just started renting this month.
Congratulations.
And I'm staring at my new refrigerator, and I noticed that it doesn't have your name on and number on the refrigerator door.
Come on.
So then it reminded me I should call you.
Good.
So just wanted to say that I love your podcast.
Thank you.
It's really helped me get into the animal rights movement a lot more. Recently, like I live in Iowa City, and recently there was an exotic animal show coming to one of our malls, and it's like GW's exotic animal show, and he's been shut down by the USDA for, you know, beating his animals, and PETA has a video out and everything, and we've been protesting that after we got about 500 signatures to show the Sycamore Mall
Cool.
people, and they just didn't cancel it, of course. So I really don't think I would have gotten to the point where I would have been confident to protest and go that far out without listening to you guys and learning so much about the animal rights movement and, you know, welfarism versus abolition. So thanks. I love you guys. And I love the goddamn motherfucking vulgarity. And I'll talk to you later.
Well, thank you. We love you as well.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm so glad
much.
I'm glad to hear that you were able to get out there and do something about it. I mean, you know, we can't always win all of these things, right? But But this is the thing, is that we have to stop thinking of winning as in such narrow terms. I think this is one of the problems that the movement itself has, is that we've conceived of winning as these little campaigns that have short-term goals that can be quote-unquote won. But in fact, if you look at the history of social movements, more often than not, social movements don't immediately win what they're after. But when social movements operate, I mean, it's a sociological perspective, often social movements are effective in changing the way people see the world. So they may not immediately win complete justice. For example, for feminism, right? The women's movement may not have won complete justice for women, but there is a compelling argument to be made that it has over time changed the way in which it's changed the way in which women are perceived in our culture, right? Not completely, not thoroughly, not in every possible way, but it's changed the relationship in some way, you know, gradually. And you could look at other movements and look at them in this way. So what I'm trying to say is that the animal rights movement, we don't always have to think of success as winning the particular thing we're doing, right? It can just mean raising awareness and using particular actions to raise awareness and to get people to understand and think. So for all those 500 signatures you got, those are 500 people who thought about, you know, I forget, GW or
the exotic animal show.
The exotic animal show, right? Those people thought about why that was not cool. And that's a positive step in the right direction.
Exactly. You educated a lot of people on why it's wrong.
Absolutely. And one of the things I hate talking about my book because I feel like I'm being self-promotional, but it's my show. It's our show. So, you know, I feel like I can talk about these things. But one of the things I've been writing about lately, I mean, I spend 8 or 9 hours a day with this book. It's like, you know, my little friend. My little friend. I spent all this time with this book, you know. But anyway, one of the things I talk about in the book is how I think it's important for us to go out in the world and do the things that we think need to be done. And I'm happy to hear your voicemail because you apparently agree.
Mm-hmm.
You saw this thing happening and you thought, I got to do something about this. And I think that that's cool. We need, as a movement, I think, to be more empowered on an individual level and to use our talents and abilities and to apply them to the problems that we're seeing in the world.
In positive ways.
In positive ways.
Yes.
And I think that the longer we rely on somebody else to do our activism for us, the longer the movement's going to flounder and end up in some kind of mediocre position that it's in. Yeah. And I write about this in the last chapter of my book.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that is voicemail. Thank you very much for that, Laura.
267-295-1944. Write the number down on your refrigerator door. Add the 001 country code if you call us from Vienna. That's how you leave a voicemail for good old Bob and Jenna.
Okay, and that'll do it for another week of Vegan Freak Radio. I just want to say, we've been getting emails and stuff. We try to respond to them. We can't always get to all of them right away.
No.
So we try to get to them, but it'll take us a while.
Yeah.
So.
But one thing, it is a new month.
True.
Today. And so go vote for us at Podcast Alley. Try to get us towards the top 10.
It'd be great to be in the top 10.
I would.
Imagine, this is a show that I've heard people listen to our show who are omnivores and go vegan. And this happened.
Yes.
So think about it. We're at Podcast Alley top 10. All these people see the show. We might make people vegan.
Yeah.
If you can get us in the top 10.
Right.
But that will require each of you going out and making a vote. If 10% of you did it, we could be in the top 10.
Yeah.
If 10% of our listeners went out and voted, we could be in the top 10. That's all it takes. If every single one of you voted, who is listening to the show right now, we could be number 1. That's how many. No, I'm serious.
Yeah.
Every week we have 5,000 or 6,000 listeners. If everybody voted, think about it, we would be number 1.
That'd be awesome.
Podcast Alley. So, anyway, it's not about promoting us. It's about promoting veganism. That's our goal.
Indeed.
So anyway, next week we'll have some more of my chingos and more of your email, voicemail, and all of the things that make Vegan Freak Radio what it is. It could not be what it is without you, our wonderful audience. We love you.
That's right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And when we get our phone fixed, it's broken at the moment, we will have Dino on
Yeah,
to talk about his book.
We will. Dino has a new segment, and we've got stuff coming up. So,
Coolness. Stay vegan, stay healthy.
And be in touch with us, and that's it. So hang in there, and we'll talk to you next week at some point or another.
Bye.
Bye.
We no longer enslave animals for food purposes.